Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils Statue of Peace to mark the 151st birth anniversary celebrations of Jainacharya Shri Vijay Vallabh Sureshwarji Maharaj. All set for swearing-in ceremony of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister of Bihar at 4:30 p.m. Home Minister Amit Shah calls for increasing capacity of hospitals and medical infrastructure for treatment of serious COVID patients in Delhi. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.27% in the country. In Maharashtra, all places of worship reopen today. And today is the National Press Day. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says free and fearless press is must for strengthening democracy. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today unveiled the Statue of Peace in Pali district of Rajasthan through video conference on the 151st birth anniversary of Sureshwarji Maharaj. Addressing the function, the Prime Minister said that New Year is a year of spiritual aura, a year of inspiration. Mr. Modi said the land of Gujarat has given two Vallabhs, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in the political field and Acharya Vijay Vallabhji Maharaj in the spiritual field.
गुजरात की धरती ने हमें 2 वल्लभ दिए और अभी भी इस बात का जिक्र हुआ। राजनीतिक क्षेत्र में सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल और आध्यात्मिक क्षेत्र में जैनाचार्य विजय वल्लभ सुरीश्वर जी महाराज। वैसे मैं दोनों ही महापुरुषों में एक समानता और देखता हूं। दोनों ने ही भारत की एकता और भाईचारे के लिए अपना जीवन समर्पित कर दिया।
The Prime Minister said that this statue will become an inspiration source of peace and non-violence in the world.
भारत ने हमेशा पूरे विश्व को, मानवता को शांति, अहिंसा और बंधुत्व का मार्ग दिखाया है। ये वो संदेश हैं जिनकी प्रेरणा विश्व को भारत से मिलती है। इसी मार्गदर्शन के लिए दुनिया आज एक बार फिर भारत की ओर देख रही है। मुझे विश्वास है कि स्टैच्यू ऑफ पीस विश्व में शांति, अहिंसा और सेवा का एक प्रेरणा स्रोत बनेगी।
The Prime Minister said that Acharya Vallabh made an effort to make India self-reliant in the field of education. He laid the foundation stone for Indian educational institutions in many states. The country is indebted to these institutions in the field of women's education. Prime Minister Narendra Modi appealed to saints and seers to disseminate the message of vocal for local among their followers. Modi said that saints and seers had played an important role in strengthening and pushing the freedom movement.
इस बात को हमेशा याद रखना होगा कि भारत के आजादी के आंदोलन की पीठिका भक्ति आंदोलन से हुई थी। जन जन को भक्ति आंदोलन के माध्यम से हिंदुस्तान के कोने कोने से संतों ने, महंतों ने, ऋषियों ने, मुनियों ने, आचार्यों ने, भगवंतों ने उस चेतना को जागृत किया। एक पीठिका तैयार की थी और उस पीठिका ने बाद में आजादी के आंदोलन को बहुत बड़ी ताकत दी और उस पूरी पीठिका को तैयार करने वाले में गुरु वल्लभ का बहुत बड़ा योगदान था।
Nitish Kumar will be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Bihar for the 7th term today. The swearing-in ceremony will take place at 4:30 p.m. at the Raj Bhavan. He was unanimously elected leader of the NDA at a meeting of its newly elected MLAs in Patna yesterday. Later, Nitish Kumar and Bihar BJP President Sanjay Jaiswal, among others, met Governor Fagu Chauhan to stake claim to form a new government in the state. The governor was handed over the letter of support from all the 4 NDA constituents of BJP, JDU, Hindustani Awam Morcha, HAM, and Vikashsheel Insan Party, VIP. There will be 2 deputy chief ministers in the state. BJP legislature party leader Tarkishore Prasad and deputy leader Renu Devi will be the new deputy chief ministers. This decision was taken in the meeting which was held between Nitish Kumar and Bihar BJP in charge Bhupendra Yadav and election in charge Devendra Fadnavis. This meeting was held at the residence of Nitish Kumar. AIR correspondent reports all eyes are on the new Council of Ministers in the State Cabinet and portfolios to be allotted to the ministers. Nitish Kumar, along with the BJP and JDU leaders, held meetings discussing the probable size of the cabinet. The maximum number of ministers in the cabinet permissible in the government is 36, as the size of the Council of Ministers can be only 15% of the total number of seats in the Assembly, which stands at 243. There are chances that the JDU, having 43 MLAs, could get 12 ministerial berths, while the BJP, having 74 MLAs, could get 18 ministers. There will be one minister each from NDA allies Hindustani Awam Morcha and Vikashsheel Insan Party. This time, new faces of BJP and JDU is likely to be accommodated in the new cabinet. Election of Assembly Speaker and other issues are also being discussed among allies of the NDA. BJP President J.P. Nadda and Home Minister Amit Shah will attend the swearing-in ceremony of Nitish Kumar and his cabinet colleagues. The NDA secured absolute majority by winning 125 seats in the recently held Bihar Assembly elections. More from our correspondent.
The new Council of Ministers in the State Cabinet will be made, and alongside portfolios too will be allotted to the ministers. Nitish Kumar, along with BJP and JDU leaders, held various meetings and discussed the probable size of the cabinet. The maximum number of ministers in the cabinet permissible in the government is 36, as the size of the Council of Ministers can only be 15% of the total number of seats in the Assembly, which stands at 243. There are chances the JDU, having 43 MLAs, could get 12 ministerial berths, while BJP, having 74 MLAs, could get 18 ministerial berths. There will be one minister each from NDA allies, Hindustani Awam Morcha and Vikashsheel Insan Party. Various other issues were also discussed among the allies of NDA. With K.K. Lal's report from Patna, Tanvi Khurana, AIR News.
Home Minister Amit Shah reviewed the prevailing COVID-19 situation in Delhi and medical infrastructure at a high-level meeting in which he directed to increase the RT-PCR test in the national capital by twofolds. After holding the meeting yesterday, Mr. Shah, in a series of tweets, said that mobile testing vans of the Ministry of Health and ICMR will be deployed where there is a high risk of COVID-19 infection by maximum use of the capacity of labs in Delhi. He said the capacity of hospitals and availability of other medical infrastructure in Delhi should be increased, as well as 250 to 300 ICU beds will be added in DRDO COVID-19 hospital located in Dhaulakua, built in May this year, so that treatment can be provided to serious COVID patients there. Mr. Shah said that the 10,000-bed COVID center in Chhatarpur will be further strengthened with an aim to increase the availability of beds with oxygen facilities. He said some identified hospitals of MCD will be converted into dedicated hospitals for the treatment of mild COVID-19 patients. Mr. Shah also informed that dedicated multi-department teams will visit all private hospitals in Delhi for inspection of availability of COVID-19 medical infrastructure, admission of patients, and displaying of status of availability of beds as per the earlier decision. He stressed on the need to review all previously established containment measures like marking of containment zones, contact tracing, quarantine, and screening in Delhi. He said particularly those who are at high risk should be constantly monitored. The Union Home Minister said additional doctors from CAPFs and paramedical staff will be airlifted to Delhi in view of shortage of healthcare workers. The Home Minister said directions have been given for protocols to be made for plasma donation and transfusion in the case of serious COVID-19 patients. He said a high-level committee headed by Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul, Director General ICMR and Director AIIMS will submit a report on it soon. Mr. Shah also informed that more oxygen cylinders, high-flow nasal cannula and other necessary equipments will be made available to the Delhi government by the central government to save more and more people. We have a report on this by our correspondent.
During the meeting, Home Minister Amit Shah specifically emphasized the need to keep track of COVID-19 patients who are in home isolation and to ensure that they are shifted to regular hospitals as soon as urgent medical attention is required. It was also decided that house-to-house survey in the entire Delhi will be conducted by the teams of AIIMS, Delhi government and MCD, and thereafter all the symptomatic persons found in the survey would be tested and provided necessary treatment. It was also said that there should be a strong communication strategy to educate people on COVID-19 appropriate behavior and inform inform them about the negative impact of the disease on long-term medical and health parameters. Mr. Shah also directed the authorities of Delhi government and police commissioner to strictly enforce the necessary measures, especially wearing of face masks. The Home Minister reiterated that there were no gaps in providing timely requisite medical treatment to the affected persons, particularly those who were poor and vulnerable. He informed that the situation of COVID-19 in Delhi, as also in the neighboring areas of the National Capital Region, would be reviewed on a continuous basis over the coming weeks. With Mohammad Naseem Naqvi, Anand Kumar, AIR News, Delhi.
The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 93.27%. More than 43,000 COVID patients recovered in the last 24 hours. According to the Health Ministry, the total number of recoveries has gone up to over 82,49,000. The actual caseload currently comprises only 5.26% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 4,65,000. In the last 24 hours, 30,548 new cases were reported, taking the total number of positive cases to over 88,45,000. The ministry said that effective implementation of the strategic and graded test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatalities. Currently, India's case fatality rate is 1.47%, which is one of the lowest globally. During the last 24 hours, 435 deaths were reported, taking the toll to 1,30,070. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, over 8,61,000 tests were conducted in the last 24 hours. The total number of samples tested so far has gone up to 12,56 lakh.
In Tripura, 26 cases of coronavirus were detected in the past 24 hours, while 77 patients were discharged after recovery during the period. Also, 2 patients died of coronavirus infection yesterday, taking the death toll to 361. Alongside, the recovery rate of COVID-19 infection has improved to 95.65%. With this, the total number of infected people rose to 31,945, while 30,532 infected people recovered from the disease. As of today, 1,026 patients are undergoing treatment in different COVID care centers. Telangana reported 502 fresh COVID cases during the past 24 hours. With this, the total COVID cases reported in the state has gone up to 2,57,876. The state conducted over 17,000 tests yesterday. The recovery rate slightly improved to 93.87%, with 1,539 more people recovering yesterday. This took the number of recovered people so far in the state to 2,42,084. Currently, the state has over 14,000 active cases, out of which over 11,000 are in home isolation. Meanwhile, 141 new COVID-19 cases were reported in Hyderabad during the past 24 hours.
In Maharashtra, devotees are seen queuing up outside all places of worship with the opening of these places after a long break of almost 8 months. A report.
As the famous temples like Sai Baba Temple at Shirdi, Vitthal Mandir of Pandharpur, Tulja Bhavani Temple and famous religious places like Shri Siddhivinayak Temple, Mahalakshmi and Mumbadevi Temple, Haji Ali Dargah, Mahim Church in Mumbai were opened today. The devotees who visited these places shown a great sense of responsibility. The devotees are following all the guidelines. They are using masks, using sanitizers, maintaining safe distance and not showing undue enthusiasm to avoid crowding. It has become possible due to the proper planning and arrangements done by the authorities of these religious places. They have underlined the fact that overcrowding can be avoided and devotees can get the most comfortable entry inside the religious places and seek the blessings peacefully, maintaining safe distance and discipline. Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
Talking to AIR, Director AIMS, Dr. Randeep Guleria said, "We have to continue our fight. The war is still on and we have to take all efforts to take the numbers down."
We have to really continue our fight against COVID-19. This is not the time to say that the war is over. The war is still on. We have to understand that there are still people who are dying. There are still hospitals which are admitting patients with COVID-19. The recovery rate is good, but that doesn't mean that it's zero mortality. There are people who are still having what we call long COVID, suffering even after recovering from COVID. And therefore, we have to take all efforts to bring the number of cases down, to save lives. And to do that, every person, every citizen has to have a disciplined behavior.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled Statue of Peace to mark 151st birth anniversary celebrations of Jain Acharya Shri Vijay Vallabh Sureshwar Ji Maharaj. All set for swearing-in ceremony of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister of Bihar at 4:30 p.m. Home Minister Amit Shah calls for increasing capacity of hospitals and medical infrastructure for treatment of serious COVID patients in Delhi. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.27% in the country. In Maharashtra, all places of worship reopened today. And today is National Press Day. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says free and fearless press is must for strengthening democracy. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Today is National Press Day. The day, observed on 16th November every year, is a symbolic of a free and responsible press. It was on this day the Press Council of India started functioning as a moral watchdog to ensure that the press maintains high standards and is not fettered by any influence or threats. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has greeted all the media professionals on the National Press Day. Mr. Naidu today said that any attack on the freedom of the press is detrimental to national interest and should be opposed by one and all. In a video message at a webinar on the National Press Day organized by the Press Council of India, Mr. Naidu said democracy cannot survive without a free and fearless press. He said the press in India has always been the vanguard of protecting and strengthening the foundations of democracy. He lauded the press for playing an outstanding role in empowering the people and furthering the national interest. Mr. Naidu advised the media on its part to be fair, objective and accurate in its reporting. He said sensationalism should be avoided and the tendency to mix news with views needs to be curbed. Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted on the occasion of National Press Day. In a tweet, Mr. Shah said the media fraternity is working tirelessly towards strengthening the foundations of our great nation. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has said that press freedom is the soul of democracy. Addressing a webinar on the National Press Day organized by Press Council of India, Mr. Javadekar said the attack on the freedom of press is not good. He said press freedom is responsible freedom. The minister said it is the duty of media to practice responsible freedom, and if the government trusts the media, they must set an example too. Mr. Javadekar said the government has constituted a committee to look into the TRP system and it will soon submit its report.
टीवी चैनल्स के लिए तो प्रेस काउंसिल जैसी व्यवस्था नहीं है, तो वहाँ सेल्फ रेगुलेशन की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए. आज एक संस्था बनी है जिसके जस्टिस सिकरी साहब उसकी अध्यक्षता करते हैं. कोई भी शिकायत कर सकता है, उसका संज्ञान लेते हैं, उसको दंडित भी करते हैं, चैनल को माफी मांगने को लगाते हैं. लेकिन बहुत चैनल्स है कि जो इसके सदस्य ही नहीं है, तो उनको तो कोई बंधन नहीं, ऐसी तो व्यवस्था नहीं रख सकते. तो लोग हमें सुझाव दे रहे हैं कि आप भी कोड ऑफ कॉन्डक्ट एक बनाइए कि सभी चैनल के लिए वो कॉमन रहेगा. हमने अभी निर्णय नहीं लिया है, लेकिन विचार जरूर कर रहे हैं.
Today is the International Day for Tolerance. The day recognizes the universal human rights and fundamental freedoms of others. It gives the message that people are naturally diverse. Only tolerance can ensure the survival of mixed communities in every region of the globe. In an exclusive interview with AIR News, head of the UNESCO New Delhi office, Eric Falt, said that education is the key to fight intolerance.
As UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said on the occasion of this day, people are not born to hate. Intolerance is learned and can be unlearned. So my message today is that education is the key to fight intolerance.
For excerpts of the interview, listen to the Parikrama program on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 4:30 p.m. onwards.
In Madhya Pradesh, the name of the Tribal Welfare Department will be changed to Tribal Affairs Department. This was announced by Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan at a program organized on the birth anniversary of Martyr Birsa Munda at the Madhya Pradesh Tribal Museum in capital Bhopal yesterday. More from our correspondent.
In a program organized on the birth anniversary of martyr Birsa Munda at the Madhya Pradesh Tribal Museum in the capital Bhopal yesterday, the Chief Minister said that it is not proper to give primitive caste address to the tribes. He said that now every year the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda will be celebrated as Tribe Pride Day. Significantly, Birsa Munda fought with the British for the protection of the rights of the tribes. The work area of Birsa Munda is now Chota Nagpur Plateau, Jharkhand and Madhya Bharat, is now Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Birsa Munda birthday is celebrated every year on 15th November in Madhya Pradesh to commemorate his contribution in the freedom struggle. Paritosh Dikshit, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Maharashtra, State Home Minister Anil Deshmukh and Nagpur's Guardian Minister Dr. Nitin Rawat, on behalf of Maharashtra State, paid homage at the mortal remains of martyr Bhushan Satai by laying a wreath at Guards Regimental Centre in Khamti cantonment area of Nagpur today. Naik Bhushan Satai, a resident of Katol in Nagpur, made supreme sacrifice in retaliation against Pakistan's ceasefire violations in the Gurez sector of Jammu and Kashmir on Friday. Major General Dinesh Huda of Uttar Maharashtra and Gujarat sub-area also laid a wreath at the braveheart soldier. Mr. Deshmukh and Raut also paid tributes to martyr Rushikesh Jondhale of Kolhapur district, who was martyred along with Bhushan.
Gujarat is celebrating its New Year today. The people are exchanging New Year wishes on the first day of Vikrama Samvat 2077. Governor Acharya Devvrat and Chief Minister Vijay Rupani have greeted the people on the occasion. More on this from our correspondent.
The first day of Vikram Samvat is being celebrated as a Gujarati New Year. After the subdued festivities of Deepavali due to coronavirus pandemic, the people of Gujarat have been wishing each other Saal Mubarak either through Namaste or mostly through electronic mode. Chief Minister Vijay Rupani has cancelled today's public Sneh Milan program due to coronavirus pandemic. People have made colorful rangolis in front of their homes. Some of the rangolis have beautifully portrayed different social messages, including the fight against coronavirus. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
The portals of Kedarnath Shrine have been closed for devotees for the winter season this morning. Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath and Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat were present on this occasion. After closing the temple portals amid the snowfall in Kedarnath, the Utsav Murti of Lord Kedarnath departed for the winter seat of prayers in Okimat. The portals of Yamunotri Dham were also closed for winter today. The Gangotri Shrine was closed for winter yesterday, and the Doli of Mother Ganga was taken to its winter puja venue in Mukwa.
The famous Sabrimala Ayyappa temple in Kerala opened for the annual 2-month-long Mandala Makara Vilakku season, adhering to strict COVID-19 protocols. Even as the temple was opened yesterday, devotees were allowed inside the temple only from this morning. Each day, only 1,000 pilgrims who have booked through the virtual queue system would be allowed to offer prayers. They have to carry COVID-19 negative certificate taken 24 hours before they reach Nilakkal and Pamba base camps. COVID-19 kiosk will be opened at the base camps for testing. The pilgrims will not be allowed to stay at the temple premises. Bhai Dooj, the festival celebrating the special bond between brothers and sisters, is being celebrated today. On this day, sisters pray for their brothers to have a long and happy life by performing Tika ceremony, and brothers offer gifts to their sisters. The festival is also celebrated as Bhau Beej, Bhatru Dvitiya, Ningol Chakuba and Bhai Tika in different parts of the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has extended his best wishes to the people on the occasion of Bhai Dooj.
In Uttar Pradesh, Bhai Dooj and Yam Dvitiya is being celebrated with immense fervour all over the state and especially at Mathura Vrindavan area, where people are celebrating it with strict adherence to the COVID protocol. A report.
Thousands of devotees are taking holy dip in Yamuna river in Mathura since early morning on this occasion. Guidelines for social distancing are also being followed. Devotees from all over the country reach Mathura on this occasion, and particularly brothers and sisters take holy dip together in Yamuna river and after that take the blessings of Yamraj, the god of death. As per Hindu tradition, sisters who feed their brothers on the auspicious day of Yam Dvitiya would be forever Saubhagyavati, and eating at sisters sister's home bestows long life to brothers. This day is also being celebrated as Bhai Dooj. Huge rush is being seen on the gates of prisons across the state where sisters are waiting in queues to meet their brothers on this occasion to apply the tika to their foreheads and pray for their well-being and protection. A grand fair is also being organized at Jamthara Ghat of Saryu River in Ayodhya on the occasion of Yam Dwitiya. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Assam, the Bagjan blowout well in Tinsukia district was successfully doused yesterday. Official sources said that the well has been put out with brine solution. However, experts are monitoring if there is any amount of gas migration and pressure build-up. It took over 5 months to bring the situation fully under control at Bagjan. The experts, with the help of a 60-ton snubbing unit, killed the blowout well.
The BJP today attacked the Congress following the comments by a Gupkar alliance leader on Article 370. Talking to reporters in New Delhi, party spokesperson Sambit Patra said, one party of the Gupkar alliance is saying that they will bring back Article 370, working in tandem with China. He asked Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi whether they stand by the comments made by the leaders of the Gupkar alliance. He said National Conference veteran Farooq Abdullah is saying he will work with China, and PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti is saying that she will not lift the tricolour, while senior Congress leader P. Chidambaram tweeted that removal of Article 370 was wrong. Mr. Patra said if one connects the dots, they will see all these comments are connected. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the People's Alliance for Gupkar Declaration (PAGD) has announced a list of 27 candidates for the second phase of District Development Council polls. AIR Jammu correspondent reports that in the list, 27 candidates have been fielded to contest the second phase of polls to be held on December 1, out of which People's Democratic Party (PDP) has fielded 8 candidates. Congress will be contesting on 3 seats in the second phase of the polls. National Conference candidates will be contesting polls on 8 seats, while People's Conference will be contesting on 5 seats. The Jammu and Kashmir People's Movement will be contesting on 2 seats, while Awami National Conference would be contesting on 1 seat in the second phase.
Tennis star Novak Djokovic has equaled Pete Sampras' record of winning 6 year-end number 1 trophies. The Serbian player achieved the feat as he was given the ATP Tour number 1 trophy yesterday for finishing as the year-end number 1. With this, Djokovic has become only the second player in tennis history to do it 6 times. Before this, Djokovic had finished as world number 1 in 2011, 2012, 2014, 2015 and 2018. The air quality in the national capital has improved significantly from severe category due to the light rain yesterday and increase in the wind speed. Currently, the air pollution level in Delhi is in poor category. According to the Central Pollution Control Board, the city's air quality index was recorded 300 at 9 a.m. An air quality index between 201 and 300 is considered poor, 301 to 400 very poor, and 401 to 500 severe. And now let us take a look at the weather update for today. The national capital had mist in the morning. The minimum temperature was recorded at 16 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 26 degrees. Mumbai, sky will be clear. The minimum temperature in the metropolis was 23 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 35 degrees. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The temperature will hover between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata is expected to have mainly clear sky with temperature varying between 21 and 32 degrees Celsius. On to the north, in Srinagar there will be generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature was 3 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 10 degrees. In Jammu, lower level of temperature was 13 degrees Celsius while the upper level will be around 22 degrees. There will be generally cloudy sky with light rain. In Leh, sky will be generally cloudy with light rain. Minimum temperature was minus 2 degrees Celsius. Maximum will be around 11 degrees. Gilgit will experience rain or snowfall with temperature hovering between 6 and 15 degrees Celsius. In Muzaffarabad, there is possibility of thunderstorm with rain and the temperature will hover between 13 and 18 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils Statue of Peace to mark the 151st birth anniversary celebrations of Jainacharya Shri Vijay Vallabh Sureshwarji Maharaj. All set for swearing-in ceremony of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister of Bihar at 4:30 p.m. Home Minister Amit Shah calls for increasing capacity of hospitals and medical infrastructure for treatment of serious COVID patients in Delhi. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.27% in the country. In Maharashtra, all places of worship reopen today. Today is National Press Day. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says free and fearless press is must for strengthening democracy. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.